What's up guys, welcome back to All Things Korean. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how to say you in Korean. The answer is actually not that simple. It's not that straightforward. As a matter of fact, there is no perfect equivalent of the pronoun you in Korean, and that's why I need to make a whole video about it. So if you want to know how to incorporate the pronoun you into your Korean sentences and sound as natural as possible, then please keep watching this video. Now, before I go on to how you're supposed to say you in your Korean sentences, let's take a look at what the dictionary says first. We're going to look at the dictionary translations and then I'm going to tell you why they're incorrect. So the dictionary I'll be looking at today is Naver English Korean Dictionary. I'm searching you right now, and the results I get are 너, 당신, and then I get 너희들, 당신들, 여러분, and that's the plural forms. So I'm just going to look at the singular pronoun you, which according to the dictionary is 너 and 당신. Now let's start with 너. 너 does mean you, it's actually correct. However, it's a very restricted kind of you, and therefore you should not be using the word 너, say for very specific circumstances. Now, if you've been learning Korean for some time, you'll probably already know that Korean has different forms of speech. You've got honorific and you've got casual. And the form of speech that you adopt really depends on whom you are talking to. So I'm not going to go into full detail on the difference between 존댓말 and 반말, but just to give you a general idea, 존댓말, you end your sentences with a 요, 했어요, 먹어요, etc. Or 했습니다, 먹습니다, like 씁니다, or 요, etc. Whereas in 반말, you drop all of those endings. So when do you use 반말? Usually it's when you talk to little kids, between family, like close family members. Normally you would speak to your parents in 존댓말 or the honorific form, but if you're like pals, like me and my mom, I speak to her in 반말. Or, friends that you grew up with, friends who are the same age as you or younger, but it's not just anyone who's the same age as you. You need to establish a friendship first. So, as an adult, if you come across someone, an acquaintance at work maybe, or a stranger on the street, you find out that you're the same age, it doesn't automatically mean that you're allowed to use 반말. So, you need to establish a connection first, and then you have to agree, okay, let's use 반말 because we're pals now. That's when it's acceptable to use 너 to mean you, the pronoun. So, there needs to be a certain level of intimacy and friendship first before you start to use 너 to mean you. And also, if you do use 너 when you're using 반말, you can only use it to someone who is the same age as you or younger. So I speak to my mom in 반말 because we're really close. She's my best friend. But I never call her 너 because she's a lot older than me. She's my mother. She can call me 너, but I cannot call her 너. So do you see how restrictive this 너 is? You need to have a certain amount of friendship with that person or closeness. You need to agree that you're both going to use 반말 with each other. And that person has to be your age or younger. So you can't just use 너 to mean you in all these different situations. It's very, very restricted. And I have a little something to illustrate why using 너 can be a big deal. Around 15 years ago, I think it was around 2004, a 가수, oops, why did I say that in Korean? So a singer named 이승기 made his debut. And his title song was called 넌 내 여자니까, means you're my girl. And it's such a cheesy song, it makes me cringe every time I listen to it, but it was a pretty big hit back in the day. Fun fact, Saem, like the Saem, is the one who wrote this song. But that's that's not the point. Anyway, so the story of this song is he's a young guy. He was pretty young when he made his debut 15 years ago, and he has this like big crush on this girl who is older than him. So in Korea, you know, we have different ways of calling other different people. You don't call people by their names. So if you're a guy and you're addressing a female friend who is older than you, you need to call her Nuna, which is also the word for big sister. But anyway, he's falling in love with this Nuna, and he's confessing his love to her in this song. So if you look at the lyrics, I'm going to add a quick insert here, see if you can understand it. So if you look at the lyrics, the song goes 누나 내 여자니까 넌 내 여자니까 너라고 부를게. That's so cringy, oh my god. But okay, so it starts with 누나 내 여자니까. So 누나, you know, a friend, female friend who's older than me, you're my girl. And then he proceeds to say 넌 내 여자니까. He calls her 너, and then in the chorus part, he says 너라고 부를게. So he's declaring a shift in the relationship. He's like, I'm gonna call you 너, even though I'm not allowed to because I'm younger than you. So the thing is, this female, right, because the guy is calling her Nuna, she probably just thinks of him as a baby, as like a little brother figure, as a boy, right? But then this guy is like, no, Nuna, don't look at me as a boy. I want to be a man. I want to be your man. So I'm going to call you 너. I'm dictating the terms of this relationship. You know, I want to be closer to you. I want to be a man. I don't want you to see me as a little guy. Do you see how significant this one word is? By using 너 to say you, he wants to bring himself to equal status with this older woman. And that's a big deal in Korea because I'm not sure if you know already, but Korea is a very hierarchical society, and you know, age matters a lot. If you're a guy and you want to use this little trick on an older Korean woman and you want to say, oh, I'm gonna call you 너 because I like you, you need to be very careful, because unless that female already has some sort of interest in you and really likes you. If you just decide to, you know, dictate the terms of the relationship and say, I'm gonna call you 너, then you're just gonna come off as really rude and disrespectful. So, you know, 너 is not to be used lightly, okay? So proceed with caution. And this is the reason, a very long reason, why 너 is not always you. So we're gonna look at the next translation of you in the dictionary, and that is 당신. And 당신 is correct. It does mean you, but again, it's very restricted and it's not to be used in everyday conversation. So for this one, I looked up 당신 in the Korean dictionary and I got 5 definitions total. So I'm gonna go through them with you one by one. And I know this video is actually getting really long right now and I'm being so talkative today, but after this, I will, you know, skip to the actual the juice, the core of this video, what you should do to say you in a conversation. So I think I'll leave that timestamp below so that you can skip to that part if you want to. But anyway, let's look at the 5 definitions of 당신. So the first definition of 당신, it says it is a pronoun, like a second person pronoun, and it means you, but it says 하할 자리에 쓴다. So this is to be used for a specific form of speech. Now in Korean, I mentioned in the beginning of the video that we have honorific and casual, but it's not just 2 forms of speech. So the honorific can be divided into like multiple forms of speech. You know, the casual 반말 can also be divided into different forms of speech. There's just so many different forms of speech in Korean, and that can be really confusing. I'm just going to go over a few that pop to mind right now. So one of them is the 해요제. The example I'll be using is 사랑해요. The dictionary form is 사랑하다. Then if you use the 해요제 or the 해요 form of speech, then it becomes 사랑해요. If you use the 합니다 form of speech, then it becomes 사랑합니다. If you use the 해, like the 반말 form of speech, the casual form, then it would be 사랑해. But there is this form of speech. It's called the 하오 제. And 사랑해요 would be 사랑하오. And this is a really, really old-fashioned, outdated form of speech. Old people use it to address each other, and it's just not really used by modern-day Korean people. People in my age group would never ever talk like this. And only in this form of speech is it natural to say 당신 to mean you. So in other words, 당신, it's not a common form of saying you. Let's look at the second definition. The second definition says, yes, it does mean you, but it's when married couples address each other, husband and wife. It's like a term of endearment, which isn't exactly like, honey or sweetie or baby. It's just you, but they say 당신 instead of you. And I can testify to this because my parents did address each other as 당신. They would say things like 당신이 해, you do it. But again, if you're not married to a Korean person, and I think it's more for older generations too, so 당신, again, in this situation, it doesn't really count. The third definition, it is you again, but it's mostly in written Korean. So it's not you in a conversational sense. So when you're talking to someone, or even when you're like typing, when you're texting, you normally use, conversational Korean, right? So here again, you wouldn't really use the word 당신 to mean you. Number 4 is when you're fighting somebody, when you're having an argument with someone and you're getting angry and the conversation is getting heated up, that's when you can use 당신 to mean you. And in this case, it's a very offensive way of saying you. Like, how dare you call me 당신? Let's say someone pushed you and you're having an argument and you're about to fight. You can say things like, 당신이 밀었잖아. And then the other person will be like, 당신? 지금 당신이라고 했어? And then, punch in the face. And I don't know. Point is, 당신, even in this fourth definition, 당신 is not an everyday conversational way to say you in Korean. The last definition of 당신, it doesn't mean you. It means himself or herself. But it's not just any him and her. It's someone that you extremely respect, or someone who is a lot older than you. Like, I would use this for my grandmother, my grandparents, or let's say like the president, or like the principal of my school, or something like that. Someone who is just super, super up there, much, much higher than you in status. And I can't think of an example off the top of my head, so I'm just going to read you the example I got in the dictionary. And it is, 할아버지께서는 생전에 당신의 장서를 소중히 다루셨다. So, 당신의 장서 means like, documents or books or something. 당신의 장서. So I'm talking about my grandfather. And I meant to say his own books. His books. So I don't use the word 자기의, which would be for normal people. I say 당신의 to mean his own books. So again, you only use this 당신 when you're referring to someone who is a lot older, a lot higher than you in social status. So we went over 5 definitions of 당신, and none of them really pertain to the you that we're trying to use in Korean conversation, right? So the dictionary gave us 너 and 당신, and it turns out both of them aren't really correct. Another option I didn't find in the dictionary is Coude. And again, this one is used in a lot of song lyrics and, poems maybe. And the reason I think a lot of song lyrics address you as Coude is because, it's not a specific person that the singer is addressing, right? It's just you in a very broad, general sense. You don't know who the other person is. And it can be anybody, so that everyone can relate to it. So they just use that like vague and broad sense of you. But again, in everyday conversation, when you are talking to someone directly, you don't say Coude. So finally, we are at the important part of the video. How do you say you when you're talking to a Korean? And the answer is you just need to use either their name or like what you call them, their social status or their name or whatever. I'm gonna give you a few examples. So let's just look at family members. For one thing, I have a sibling, I have a brother. Do I call him by his name? No, I call him oppa, which means big brother from the perspective of a younger sister. So I call him oppa, my mom and my dad, I call them 엄마 and 아빠, right? So let's say I want to say a sentence that has you in it. For example, I gave that to you yesterday. So if I'm saying that to my brother, I would say 어제 오빠한테 줬잖아. In the place of you, or maybe 너, I would say 오빠. 어제 오빠한테 줬잖아. If it were my mom, 어제 엄마한테 줬잖아. Even though I am addressing my 엄마, I just refer to her as 엄마 when I want to say you. Another example, let's say I'm calling my mom and I'm asking her when she's coming home. So when are you coming home in Korean would be 엄마 언제 올 거야? So instead of, any word for no, I just put in what I call that other person. Let's have another example. Let's say I'm talking to my manager at work. I would call him or her 팀장님. So I would always address my manager as 팀장님. So in the place of you, where you has to be, I always put 팀장님 because that's what I call that person. So let's say I want to ask, so when's your birthday? I would say 팀장님 생일은 언제예요? Are you getting the pattern here? So in the place of you always put the word that you use to address that other person, whether it be a name or a social status. Let's say you are talking to a coworker at work and you do address each other by name. I'm 샘물, right? So you would call me 샘물씨 or 샘물님 at work. Then if you want to ask me my birthday, you can say 샘물씨 생일은 언제예요? Instead of no, or 당신의 생일은 언제예요? And the last example, let's say I'm having a meal with my teacher. So if it's a teacher, I would always call the teacher 선생님, right? And let's say, we're picking out a menu. When I ask, what do you want to eat? I would say, 선생님은 뭐 드실래요? Again, in the place of the no, I am inserting what I call that other person. It can be name, it can be social status or position. So it's not 너, it's not 당신, it's not coude, it's just whatever you call that other person. That is you in Korean. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot of talking and a lot of unnecessary explaining, but I hope that you now know how to say you in Korean. If you found this video informative and helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, like it, leave comments down below telling me what you think. And also, if you are interested in daily one-line listening practice, then please follow me on Instagram on allthingskrn. I just upload really random sentences every day to help you with your Korean listening. So that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed and I will see you in the next video. 다음 영상에서 만나요.